in in the agenda that people can click on, and you can look in the platform mailing list for that discussion that we just kind of walked through. But you could, oh, sorry, yeah, we did. No, yeah, right. I had shared the wrong screen, so we didn't record it. Yep. I will, let's just do this really quick. I'll just open them quickly again, so they will be in the recording. And let's see, thread next. Was the response from Tracy? Thank you for that. And then my response there. So it actually is in the recording now. Okay. So let's see. So back to, okay, yeah. So I was just saying that, yeah. So we're doing the refactoring on the TCK refactoring branch, and also wanted to to point out that last year sometime we had a lot of discussion about using wiki versus pull requests to the TCK repo for design notes and things like that. We pointed out that the wiki is great for quick things that people want to enter that are committers. But for design notes, I converted a design note that Alwyn had created a wiki for. I moved it into the platform TCK on the refactor branch, and basically, let me just open it up. It's this. Oops. Okay, let me try that again. Oops. Okay. That did not. Okay. Okay, let me fix the link. The link did not. Let's see. So that'll do it. Okay. So yeah. So it's some notes that Alwyn entered for how steps to do the TCK refactoring based on our past experience. And the great thing now is anyone in the community can create a pull request against this content to make further changes. They don't have to be a committer on the platform TCK to make a change, and I think that's a good step in general. Let's see, let me just fix the link.
Yeah, and mainly due to the fact that wikis cannot accept pull requests, right? So it's better to have it outside.
Yes,
from
exactly.
my point of view, that's a big issue with wikis that I have always had. I'm not against the wikis, obviously, but if you want to publish something that will be open for collaboration, I think wiki is not the better place to have them.
Yep. And I found out also in in the last week or so that that we cannot assign TCK issues to people that aren't recognized as contributors in some way. And so we had a couple pull requests that were submitted, and created issues for for those pull requests, and I wanted to assign them to the contributor, and I couldn't just type in his or their GitHub ID, and so that I don't know what the solution is for that, and exactly, but that's something else to to be thoughtful of solving in the future anyways. But I think the big thing is wanted to get into is the roadmap issue that we started for coming up with milestone releases and epic, basically, following the epic pattern for you basically having a bunch of issues and milestones releases that we can resolve as a team. And let me just say, at a high level, um, um, the yeah, I'll stay here. The at a high level, the a big idea here is that to do some, refactor some platform TCK tests in each of the different test buckets. And basically, by doing that, we can open it up to others to contribute who may have no idea of how the platform TCK internals work, or how to write a TCK test, or updated TCK test to to run on with Maven, JUnit, and Archillion and shrink wrap, and the beauty of that is we should be able to scale up contributions more easily once we have once we have like a few Java SE style TCK tests and a few Jakarta EE style tests for each of the test buckets. And even if we don't get that going and right away for all the test buckets, even if it's slow to get them all started, it can get the community, help the community join the effort, to convert other tests in those test buckets to also be runnable, because they'll kind of be able to see how it's done for the tests that have been converted, for the tests that haven't been converted, so we can kind of get some, we can get some progress going. So that was kind of the idea of behind like refactor a small, and these are not in any order, these are like in sorted order. But refactor a small number of app client container EE mode tests, and kind of continue that for for all of the test buckets, basically, for EE mode tests, refactor signature test driver, and that doesn't have to be a last thing that we do, that can be done at any time. And basically then kind of pull together a milestone release that has those few tests that should still work with EE10 implementations, because we won't have brought in any spec API updates or EE11, and I don't, timing wise, I don't even know when that's gonna, EE11 spec updates will even be ready to be brought in, or to be considered to be brought in. But anyways, the idea is that this milestone release will work against EE10 implementations, and can be validated against any EE10 implementation that's willing to help do that validation, to see that that each of those test buckets work, or okay, maybe changes are needed, and we can kind of work on that. We'll get early feedback and early validation of that, and then we kind of oh yeah, this some other things as well. We'd like to figure out how going into the next milestone, I should say, we'd like to figure out how to link tests to what they're asserting or what they're testing, in terms of whether it's um, a standalone spec, like whether a specification document, or section of the document, or maybe a Java doc assertion, and would like to kind of nail that down into a way that where tests can be updated or added that clearly link to the specifications in a way that you know um, that supports in progress work. So let's say you want to, let's say we want to add a test for a new spec feature. So maybe you start out by adding a description of the spec, text, and anything that you can use to describe it in a draft way, with the idea that later you'll add in the spec section number, and the spec title, and maybe you already have it in the draft at that point, that that information. But you'll basically you could make a best effort attempt at that. And I'm not saying we have to decide this now, but I'm just saying what that could be, that we kind of bring into that second milestone, that idea of how to do that. And we could start common TCK result reporting that can, I don't know if that's a Maven plugin or what it is exactly, but I know for Wildfly, and it's somewhat, it's painful. I know for Wildfly, I like to have one email that I can send that contains all the results in terms of the number of tests run, the number of tests passed, the number of tests failed, and I think in our community effort to test, to validate EE9, 8, 9, 10, there's been a lot of manual effort to kind of pull those stats together, that goes into, on a weekly basis, that goes into developing each of those releases. And so the idea here is to kind of automate that in a shared way that we all could use if we wanted to. So that was kind of the idea there. But anyways, in this next milestone, if we can add some Java SE style TCK tests as well, or refactor some Java SE test as well, that would be great to include in the second milestone. And also try to oh yeah, and then do that milestone release with that much, with that much. And again, that can be validated against Jakarta EE10 specs that and can allow us to get some validation against that, and then we can kind of move into the idea of let's see if we can find some hard to refactor tests to for the next milestone, for each of the test buckets. And the thinking there is just trying to hit some of the harder cases, whatever they may be, whatever that means. And so have a third milestone that can be run against EE10 implementations to validate that those TCKs work. And that, so there's some Java SE tests in there as well. So that's validation that can be done as well for a third milestone against the standalone specs. as well. So, so we're kind of developing a pattern here. Yeah. So when we hit this third milestone, we have, we have, for all the test buckets, we have something working and something we can build on. And for the fourth milestone, we're going to take a, this is all subject to change, but we'll take a shot at completing the SC. Oh, I think there's a typo in here. Let me fix that while we're just fix that quickly. Oops. Let's see.
I think it's at the bottom of, there you go.
Yeah. So there's a typo update. So yeah, so for this third milestone, let's complete the let's try to complete the various EE and SC TCKs so that they could be used, so that that code base could be used to satisfy spec ballots in some fashion. To be discussed still, and we can talk about that some more, what's going on there. But up above and in other discussions, there's a chicken and egg problem of between the spec ballots as we've done them in the past and the Jakarta EE container testing. And the chicken and egg problem is, let me see, there's a quick summary in here. I think, let's see, yeah, right here. So there's a quick summary here of which test buckets which test buckets we typically have created, or not even typically, we have created standalone TCKs for. We've created standalone TCKs for connector. So just as an example, the standalone connector TCK when we hit the milestone 3 released, will not have we will not have added any EE11 TCK test yet. But we'll, let's just say hypothetically we wanted to do the spec ballot for connector. Doing the spec ballot for connector means that we can't add in any more tests after that ballot is complete, unless we make process changes to allow TCK tests to be changed after a ballot is complete. So there's kind of a chicken and egg problem there that we want to solve, and we probably will solve. We may solve today, even as soon as today, in the specifications committee call, later, or in a call soon, where we might change the TCK process to allow test changes after a ballot has been completed, or after a implementation has already been validated to have passed. And I have to say, it's a tricky area, and it's going to take a lot of care and thought and effort on everyone's part if we do that. And we won't default to just making a lot of changes, but the idea as it applies to the EE11 release, at least in this issue, is let's just say for connector, we have the standalone connector spec ballot that starts and it completes and it's considered final. Then we decide, oh, you know what, we want to add, we need to add we missed adding tests for connector in the EE container, in the equivalent of platform TCK, whatever the refactored TCK is going to be called. Let's just say platform TCK, assuming that's going to stay as a name, to add those tests without breaking that, possibly breaking that implementation that's already passed the connector test, is a problem to solve. So the thinking on that is allow tests to be changed and to be added, during the EE11 process, and also after EE11 goes final, allow tests to be changed and even added in some fashion. And the way that that makes sense for after EE11 might be adding alternate tests, and you say, okay, we can't really do anything but exclude a test, or change it, but we really want to we want to keep the current tests for compatibility reasons, and for those who have already passed and want to have a new version of that test that is an alternate test. And we're not saying that's going to be a requirement or that's going to be the way it's going to be done, but it's just a possibility, and to be figured out, of what could happen with regard to the TCK process changes that I just alluded to. So I just talked a whole lot. I'm gonna pause now. And
one question to the last topic, in context of semantic versioning, when changing a test or adding a test, that means as a service release or a patch release, or could that even be a minor or a major change that should be included? That requires still a new ballot, right?
It's so subject to the specification committee approving that that such a change would make. And if a change like that doesn't happen, then I think we need to kind of walk through this refactoring plan, because we'll have discussion around how about the difficulties, and it's and just how how to work around not having such a change. But with regard to whether it's a service release or a minor or a major, with regard to TCK, it would always be a service release after the spec has gone final.
Mm-hmm.
So after EE11 platform has gone final, it would definitely be a service release. It's a bit fuzzy for currently. It's a bit fuzzy and unclear for a lot of these standalone TCKs that are generated by the platform TCK. Like let's say, for the example of connector, that we had to connect it. Let's just say for going back for the EE10 release. Let's just say we had a that we went through the connector ballot for EE10, and connector was finalized, and we decided to add a test after that. Okay, well, that's that's really a fuzzy thing, because if we add a test to the platform TCK, we have to be careful that that same test doesn't show up in the standalone connector TCK, or that we don't accidentally slip it in a service release for the connector TCK that comes out later. And it's not it's not an easy thing. So that, great care has to be taken to avoid those kinds of problems. But now with these changes during the EE11 release, the thinking there is, well, there's a lot of ideas that came out of the platform discussion that that we linked to from last week. And one of those ideas were to possibly change the way we develop and release milestones to kind of like and this hasn't been proposed anywhere yet, but it just there's a lot of possibilities. But basically, defer the ballot process for the standalone TCK, for the standalone specs until a lot of the development has happened already. So do a lot of the validation and development in the communities, but don't finalize releases and call them final until all the changes have been done. And all the changes don't really happen in a proper new EE release. TCK tests will be added up until near the end, until we're ready to freeze. Somehow that would have to align with the specs going final, closer to the end after everything's been worked out. And so I think that would be basically all the specs that depend on other specs and implementations that depend on specs would be working off of milestone releases that are all available in the community. So that, I don't know, there may be other ideas. So it kind of gets into, I don't know if that helps. Basically, there is no, there's a bunch of milestone releases, and adding a test, up to near the end of some point, or I'll just say some point, I won't call it the end, but some point in the EE11 release, shouldn't break, things, I think. Does that help?
Yeah, I really like the idea, like we discussed in the last platform meetings too, not switching off tests that create some issues, simply instead refactoring the tests so it works with every implementation as intended. Or maybe in some cases, tests need to be fixed, or some additional configurations need to be done to run the test in the right environment or configuration and things like that. That's way better than just skipping or removing the tests from the TCK, and maybe fix that issue in the next release, and then have some features not tested at all at the end because of these switch offs. So yeah, I heavily support that idea. Sounds good to me.
Any other feedback? So we covered a lot of things, like these different steps of going through to do refactoring, and there's a lot of work. But does anyone? So I don't know if it just if it makes sense. And notice that things at the end is kind of, I just said repeat the above, because you can kind of see patterns, and in the you can kind of see the way we're organized, and the work, and doing milestone releases, and getting feedback, or maybe we're not getting feedback. I don't know. But I think we can get the feedback, because we'll be using EE10 still for quite a bit, which I think I've credited again to Guru. because I hope he doesn't mind. Guru suggested at one point, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, that for a new EE release, one way of testing a new spec API is to take an existing implementation and kind of plug in the changed spec API and kind of use it with the implementation, and if that works. And that I think that's basically validating off of a working system is the idea there, and that really stuck with me, that idea. And it's kind of that is really greatly different than what we did for EE9 and 10, where we were things may have worked a bit for the platform, for implementations, but for the most part, like once you start adding new implementation features, it can really take a long time before things are working and enough to validate that like the platform TCK is in decent shape. And you kind of go through a period of iterations, and you start fixing things, and when you fix things enough, then things work even better. And so anyways, so any other thoughts?
Scott, basically for migration, since the repository and the code base is huge, if we automate some of the migration, like we will be doing repeated source code changes for adding JUnit or equivalent technology to replace the JTest. So automation of the source refactoring, if we can use some of the tools, then it will be great. I came across one of the tools today. I'm pasting it in chat. It is called Open Rewrite. It has some rules based rules for migration of the source. So basically, we can tell to remove some of the class method signatures, or tweak in the annotations. Uh, they have rules for migration of from JUnit 4 to JUnit 5. But since we also have patterns in the refactoring, some of the tests will have new annotations of JUnit. All the tests will have new annotations of JUnit. I feel automation of uh, uh, some part of the refactoring will speed up the process, and will help us in achieving the goal which we are trying for Jakarta EE11 much faster. So we have patterns, like we need to introduce some of the annotations in the test, and we have patterns like we need to remove some of the JUnit JTest code, and also we have to reformat some of the logging aspects. So some aspects can be automated. I don't know till how far we can go with automation, but I see a scope for automation for of the test migration. It
I-
will be yeah, Scott.
Is this a bytecode modification, or is it source code?
It's a source code modifier.
Oh, nice.
Okay, and it has some rules. I came across this tool recently. I haven't gone through internal details, but some of the rules seem to be like for migration from JDK 11 to JDK 17, or JUnit 5 to JUnit JUnit 4 to JUnit 5, or some rules they have already built in are for Spring migration from older version of Spring to newer version. So if we can explore this, the tool called open rewrite, it will be easier for us to migrate the large code base of platform TCK. That's one thought which I have currently, because the code base is huge, and it will take years of efforts by multiple contributors. Some automation will help.
That's a great idea. What I would like to have when starting using the tooling for migration, have the possibility to test that component spec tests before and after the refactoring. So it generates the same test results, so we can be sure that the refactoring works well and not create additional issues that may be hard to find if that is done in an automated way.
Yeah, that issue will exist, but there are tasks like renaming of the packages and adding some annotations to the code base, and there will be efforts to verify that generated code performs as expected. But rewriting the whole code base will take some time for many developers. That's what I feel.
If we can, yeah, yeah, even if this does like a partial, even if there's manual work after this does, takes out, if this takes a shot at making the changes, that would be, great to, to have, to just to kind of like take the drudgery out of the work. And like even like just the package rename from Java X to Jakarta, that was I forget the exact number of them, but we had many pull requests that were 60,000 lines updated, and it was some as small as 10,000 lines, but anything over 1,000 lines or 2,000 lines is like too many lines to review. And if this can automate that, it would be that would be a huge huge plus, so we don't have to manually update 2 to 4 million lines of test. And so yeah, that's great. Great suggestion. I love it really. And let's note the idea too. So let's see. Let's see. Of validating. So validating, validation of the refactored TCK tests could be done by, I don't know. I think I missed it. If someone wants to add that, or we can just update that last one.
Yeah, by continuous integration methodic
Yeah,
methods. Run the tests before the refactoring and after, and check the differences of the test results.
Run test.
In theory,
before
there should be
and
no differences.
after. Yeah, so that, yeah, I mean, the package names will, like, may be different right now. I think we have a lot of this. I think we have a lot of the same package names in place. I don't think we've changed package names. So we may have changed some package names. I honestly don't remember. It's been a long time since we've actually have been changing, doing the refactoring. It was at the beginning of the EE10 release when we were doing that, and then we kind of paused it. So yeah, so I don't know. But yeah, so run test before and after the refactoring and compare results. Yep. So I guess that's comparable for EE10. So with EE10, I guess we would say, but once EE11 support is added, I think the validation would be would not validation test, it would not work, because we would basically, in order to for that to for this to work with EE11, we would need in EE11 implementation of the not refactored platform TCK. And it sounds like from the start of the EE11 release until the very end, everyone available to help will be busy with refactoring, unless the automation just works so so wonderfully that that it's that's not the case. But I don't know. I don't think. I really, if there are contributors that want to work on the EE11 platform TCK, the not refactored, that would be, that could work, but I don't know. I guess there's a question mark. I'll put a question mark on that. I'll say might not work.
The general idea still is split the tests up and put them beside the component spec, or do the refactoring in the combined TCK.
Basically didn't get to that, wherever they end up living. And I have to say there's a lot of tension around the ones that have Java SE test, because we don't want like let's say we move the connector TCK. Basically this exercise we're gonna basically end up with basically a standalone, almost or a standalone project for a connector to have its own TCK. Whether the connector spec takes that or not, I think they would take the SE and the EE container test, or maybe not. Maybe they would only take the SE test. It's really, there's a discussion there. That I don't really have the answers. I think it's better to have them together, but in some sense, it's better to have them not be together. So there's pluses and minuses to either way, but I think it could go either way. So the SE test, could move to the spec. The SC test and the EE test could move to that spec, or they could stay in the, they could stay in the platform TCK project and be maintained there. I think it's better if they move to the standalone spec. That's kind of what we're working towards, but not every spec will, is active enough to, for that to work, I think. So it's just not, it's not clear. It's not, we can make decisions on that, but I don't think it's, I think it's like that's more of a platform level discussion. And there is a platform issue for how to handle that we opened for EE10, and we just never, there was discussions on it. I forget the number, but it's basically all about how we do integration testing at the platform level in standalone TCK tests, like we've done in REST. REST is obviously doing it. RESTful Web Services is doing it. I mean, Batch is doing it somewhat, and others are doing it. And then some other specs chose to have a TCK, but not to have any EE container tests. And a lot of there's been a lot of feedback about that, and that we do need those EE container tests as well. So we need to figure out where those will live, and so yeah.
So that architectural decision isn't made regarding where to place tests at best, for which kind of tests the recommendation is made, and that is still under discussion, right?
Yeah, I think let's see, I think the issue, there's an EE11 issue. It's
in general, I think I would agree, having tests that are specific to one component spec, or the component spec and its own dependencies should be placed beside that component spec. And maybe there are different TCK artifacts for different environments that need to be passed. When the test should be on the lowest possible place in the dependency tree. That would be my idea. And if the lowest is the platform TCK for the full profile, for example, yeah, then it's the way to put it there, because maybe it uses connector and batch in a combined test or something like that. Then it should be on the level that covers all the dependencies of the test aspects. And maybe we will end up in an additional layer, having standalone SE based testing, having CDI based testing, if we base everything on CDI, and have some platform level or profile level testing too in the future, or the need for that.
The dependencies are is really difficult. I should say. If we could have SPI, maybe like two levels of interface, like a low at the bottom, like SPIs, and then no other specs depend on anything other than the SPIs. I don't know, or something like that, where there's just fewer levels of dependency. I don't know what the answer is for us, but yeah, it's I don't know. I think it's reflected in the release process, development process now, and organization. It's yeah, it just we have to make improvements, and and decide what those are. And so I think this plan, it's taken a shot at the platform TCK plan. Once we have a plan for the EE11 release in general, then the platform TCK refactoring plan can align to that. And other discussions that happen. But we're out of time, so we're last minute. Anyone who's hasn't said anything yet? All right, I'm gonna stop recording, or stop the share and stop recording.